Thank you for taking the time to purchase this course. The purpose of this PowerPoint is to ultimately create successful names. The learning outcome is that you understand how to discover these names with applied research methods. In order to get the most out of this presentation, I recommend that you pause the video and gather some paper and a writing utensil. In this agenda, we will have a 5-step approach. We will begin with understanding your services, acknowledging who you will serve, i.e., who is going to be your target population, engaging your audience, in other words, how will you communicate with your people, validating your name, working to secure your name, and scale. At this point, you're pretty much set with a solid name. Understanding the value in your services. The question you first need to ask, what are you going to sell? Jot it down on the paper in an organized format. After thinking about what you are going to sell, think about what you are going to do. If you're not selling products, what services will you sell? If you cannot think about what products you're going to sell, and you cannot think about what services you're going to sell, then what are you going to be providing? If you need more time, I suggest that you pause the video and write down in the most simplest terms, what is the value you're going to provide? Throughout this video, we're going to be building a framework, step by step, with your ideas on the paper. I want you to put the service, product, or value you're providing. If you have multiple products, services, and value exchanges, I recommend only doing this with one idea at a time. Alright, let's think about who is going to be affected. Let's think about who is going to receive this product. At this point, you can generalize as much as possible, especially if you're not quite sure. We're going to work through this together when we get back to the framework. If you couldn't think about those being affected by the idea, then think about who will benefit from the service or who needs this type of idea. If you still cannot figure out who is affected or who will benefit from creating the idea, then I would recommend thinking about who are the people you're speaking to. When we get back to the framework, I'll go through an example with you. Alright, let's say in this example, I am generalizing the idea to females. My idea provides value to females, but not just any type of female. Let's say young females. But not just any type of young female. Let's say young females in college. That is the clear target of who will benefit the most from my products. Now let's return to helping you out. Please use this framework and write down one line below the value, i.e. idea, on your general population, generalized group, and then your target demographic. Step 3, engagement. How are you going to reach these people? Are your people mainly on Instagram? Are your people mainly on LinkedIn? What social media platform or social space do your people gather? Next, what are we going to do in order to engage your people? Do you have templates pre-generated for online interaction? Do you have surveys already created? Really think about how are you going to ask them a question in a uniformed way? How are you going to go from asking the question to storing the answer for analysis? It's important to note that some people can be hard to get a hold of. It is in this case that sometimes you may need an incentive. This incentive can take a lot of forms. But think about ideally sharing your prototype or idea, sort of like a teaser for the main show. Do you currently have a prototype you can share? Do you currently have a free product that you can use to build interest in your survey? I wouldn't recommend paying people because that could be costly. However, I would recommend providing them with a free product, such as an ebook about a related service, product, or idea. At this time, I would like for you to take a breather because we have covered a lot of operational steps here. On your paper, I want you to jot down 1 to 2 places where these people get their information from. If you personally do not know, I would recommend doing an internet search. In the worst case scenario, you will need to find a few people manually in your clear target zone and just ask them. When you find this information, please jot it down onto your paper. Please follow the framework because things can get messy really fast. Alright, validating your name. How many people do you think are needed to say that is a good name? Depending on how accessible your clear target zone is, I would recommend keeping it small. Maybe 10 people if they're hard to get a hold of, or 50 people if they're easy to get a hold of. Research. Research is an idea of replicated outcomes. However, sometimes there are outside circumstances which affect our outcomes. You need to think about how you are engaging your target audience in order to gather a good name. For example, look at your templates. Are they coming up as neutral or happy when analyzed with programs like Grammarly? Are your online surveys clear and direct? If you are a for-profit business, do you have a partner? If so, do they agree with the name? Remember, back to the beginning of this presentation, the service you provide is for the people. Let the people decide. However, you are always the last check stop. And it's important because you need to ensure that the name isn't weird, lacking, or just plain wrong. It is your business name, don't get me wrong. However, the business you are creating should be customer centric. Your customers know what they want, your customers know what they need, and lastly and most importantly, your customers know what's hip, trending, and going viral. Back to the framework. Location, location, and location. Where do you retrieve your data? What type of collection system are you going to use? Are you going to have email templates? Are you going to have direct message templates? Are you going to use a survey? Whatever you choose, I suggest that you keep it uniformed. After you have it all done, gather the data, it's important to look at and then make some decisions. After watching this presentation, I suggest going into the materials to look at some examples of this framework in action. Now, we're at the end of our course. Using this framework and mindset, you should ideally be able to name any product, service, or business in a customer-centric focus. From my personal experience, I used Inkfile to file for my name and secure it through the legal world. I wish you luck for scaling your business and brand. In light of the framework, we can see the end of our journey. Thank you again for your time, and I wish you the best of luck in your future endeavors. Please use the materials as part of this lecture to compare and contrast the framework to yours.